Yeah, I'm Rob Pickering. I'm Director of a new social enterprise looking at renewable energy in Penwith called West Country Renewables. And what I was going to briefly talk today, really, looking at what the potential is in Penwith and what we could be doing.
You've got the little flicker down there, you want the right hand arrow.
Thanks. Now, for me, it's all about trying to keep build our local economy, keep the money local. It's not just about energy, although energy is the fundamental thing that we can't get away from. Our food, our whole lifestyle comes back to our energy. So what I'm going to do, look briefly at what the potential is.
Right hand.
Thank you.
That's it.
So what is being consumed at the moment in Penwith? A couple of years ago, 2012, Transition Penwith got a grant and was able to commission Community Energy Plus and Atlantic Energy. Charmy and Lark, who's sitting at the back, produced a lot of the information in that. And that report was about looking at what the renewable energy potential was in Penwith. And a lot of the information I'm going to have in my presentation has come from that. So thank you very much, Charmy, for doing that. So we've got 1,100 gigawatt hours of energy being consumed. That's across the whole sector, domestic, transport, and commercial and industrial, although that's quite a smaller part. Gigawatt hour, you're talking about 1 million kilowatt hours. If you buy electricity in kilowatts, you're 14 or 15p of electricity, and so that's over 1,000 million kilowatt hours. The big thing there is the cost. We're actually sending out about £110 million every year out of our economy, which I think roughly is about 15–20% of our GDP. So a lot of money that we're giving away. Of that consumption, about a quarter of that is domestic electricity use. 279 was the estimate, and then about half is heating. For us, with half our properties in Penwith off the gas network, a lot of that, about a third of the domestic energy consumption is oil. So people are very reliant on the vagaries of the world oil market. But there is interest in renewables. Last year in the UK, 125,000 people installed PV on their roofs. Could I have a show of hands of who has a renewable in their home at the moment? Brilliant. A good majority there. Across the UK again, altogether there's over 600,000 people have signed up, have had some sort of system installed and getting the feed-in tariff, which in Penwith roughly would work out about 800 to 1,000 properties. It may well be higher around here because we've got a very good resource, but 2.5% of households that works out roughly. So we've obviously got a huge potential there to actually do a lot more. From our report, sort of a couple of years ago, we looked at the different technologies and sort of put some figures down about what could they generate. One of them is wind. We're further up further up the county, we've got a lot of larger turbines. Here we haven't. We did look, did some surveys, and it was possible to put, putting planning issues aside, 32 megawatt turbines, and with that we would generate almost exactly the same as our domestic energy consumption. You've probably seen a lot of the 50 kilowatt farm-sized turbines going up around the area. To do the equivalent, we would need 1,900 of those to produce what's the same as those 30. Large turbines aren't far more efficient, and I think there's potential there. There's also a little bit of potential for hydro as well. It could produce 3 gigawatt hours per year. But the big one I'm interested in is domestic roofs. It's very easy for people to install if they've got the right, if their roof is suitable. And doing some calculations, it's possible there. We've got to combine for solar PV and thermal hot water to have over 100 gigawatt hours of generation, roughly 10% of what we're consuming at the moment. There's also potential there for commercial as well. Obviously we've got a smaller commercial and industrial sector in Penwith, but there's still very useful gains there, and for businesses, by installing renewables, they could save 10-15% of their costs, so making them far more profitable. In the east, we're getting a lot of solar farms going up, and I think personally there's a potential here in Penwith as well. We've obviously got issues around 40% of the area is AO and B, but there's still a lot of land. Just doing some very simple back of envelope calculations. I'm just looking at 500 hectares, sorry, 1.6% of the land. That would produce, again, 252 gigawatt hours, very similar to our domestic energy consumption. We've also got, people always come back and say, well, what about tidal, what about wave, what about geothermal? Geothermal, yeah, West Penwith, there is great potential there, but all those are very large capital intensive technologies, and some of them are going to take quite a few years before they actually come in. So because of that large capital investment, it's likely it's going to be outside investors that are coming in. And for me, it's all about local ownership. We've got to keep the money revolving around our own local economy. So, just looking at some figures there, assuming that we will reduce our consumption by about 40%. We've got to insulate our properties. I haven't mentioned that. We've talked about renewables and generation, but really insulating our homes is priority. Unfortunately, there's not very great incentives at the moment. Everything's going into renewables. So that is something that's got to be tackled. But just, it's possible, but we've got the potential there. So, people have seen that potential right around the country, really, and there's estimated over 5,000 community energy groups. And it's really good to see what REN is doing. And in Cornwall, there is about a dozen other groups that are looking at community energy issues. There's also Community Power Cornwall, who recently just did a community share issue and raised over £400,000 towards a wind project in the east of the county. In the southwest, there's another good example, one to aspire to really, is Bath and West Community Energy. They've been around a few years now, but as you can see from the figures there, they've had a major impact. With all these energy groups, it's building partnerships with developers, it's working with local authorities and housing associations to look at their properties, it's looking at community groups and schools and what we can do there. And with that in mind, a group of us have set up West Cornwall Community Renewables to try and kickstart, make a bigger impact on the uptake of renewables in Penwith. It's still going far too slowly in my mind. So yeah, our aims are obviously really, is to increase take-up. But it's also about local ownership. We've got to keep the money locally. One of the projects we're trying to work on is doing a domestic scheme of actually installing solar in people's homes, where we would do a community share issue to raise the funds, so it would be community owned, so people just get the scheme put on their roofs and they would get free electricity. At the moment we can't quite get the economics right there, but we're looking at ways of how that can happen. We must find a way that the people who haven't necessarily got the money in the bank can actually get these things installed. But in the meantime, we're looking for community buildings and commercial buildings that we can, larger schemes that we could actually do as a community project. So if you know of any, please get in touch with us. And that's my bit for the moment.
Thank you very much, dear. But we also like to say that when the community share issue is released, it's set at a reasonably affordable level, because usually with these investments they're asking for thousands and thousands of pounds, but there's been an effort to try and make it available to local people, so if you have got a spare £50 or £100 you might be able to invest. Is that?
That's right. West Cornwall Community Renewables is a community benefit society, so we're a democratic organisation, and when we do community share issues, people join that and would have their vote, and everybody would have this one vote whatever their investment is, and technically now it can be up to £100,000, but we would be setting our community share level probably at £20 or £50 at the very tops. So it's about wide as membership as possible.
And even though £50 might be a lot of money for some people, if it's that or a bit below, then it means that maybe even people can come together and start and share an issue or something.
And if we can get things going, then we've got to find a way where people can regularly pay into something. So use it as a savings scheme to bring in the money. And it's not necessarily just about energy generation. We should be doing those sort of things to fund our local community assets as well. In my mind, it's silly that if we want to build a health clinic, they go off and somebody far away loans the money. Why not raise the money locally? It's our asset. We should be actually putting our money in here, and the interest payments that we would be sending out, we get them ourselves. Keep it here.
Absolutely. And on that, Chris, can I put you on the spot? How much money approximately does your community energy scheme generate, would you say, for Laddock in ballpark?
Annually at the moment, around about 20,000 quid, which gives us enough to put PV on 4 to 5 new properties every year.
So that's about £20,000 generated profit every year from the community energy scheme in Laddock, which enables them to put more renewables on 4 to 5 properties every year. So that's happening every year. So the money is being generated by the RUM scheme.
The critical point about it is we give it to the homeowner. The homeowner signs a contract which assigns the feed-in tariff back to us. So next year we can do a little bit more.
So it is about paying it forward almost, isn't it?
Indeed. Yeah.
And if anybody's got any more queries about how that works, because that involves a lot of people and a lot of negotiation, but clearly the benefits are enormous. We have Rob and Chris and a question here from Fiona.
Well, it's just something that a lot of people aren't aware of, is that you can actually take your pension out of the stock market, put it into a self-invested personal pension and invest in these kinds of companies. That's what I've done with mine, albeit it's only a very small pot. So Bath and West Community Energy I've invested in for a 7% return. I mean, it's just this great opportunity. So a lot of people don't know about that. So even if they haven't got spare savings and they have some pension money somewhere, then it's a great way to invest and support these local businesses.
In fact, further on this particular point, as you may know, pensions are going to be freed up. They have already been, I'm not sure exactly where it comes in. And then a lot of people are going to study on their eyes. But actually, you can actually take the money out and invest it in renewable energy, whether it's on your own roof or whether it's in a scheme like this. Because all of those returns are far better than what you can get at other investments, and particularly they are much safer than if you put in the stock market or shares of any kind.
And all the benefit goes local.
This is going to be guaranteed for 20 years. The government tells. I think actually they will probably stop it after a period of time, but only when prices of energy are so high they will not matter that these bid payments are stopped.
I think it's an example of this would be a clearly better thing to do, and the only thing that's stopping us is our habit and a scare and a fear of change. So it took me a long time to move my bank to the co-op. Actually, there was no reason at all that was stopping me, but I stuck with my old bank because it was a bank I opened an account with when I was a student, and eventually I thought I really need to put my money where my mouth is, literally. And then I thought, and it was really, really easy. But I thought, why does it take me so long to do something which is clearly a good idea, and there's nothing stopping me? The only thing that's stopping me was me. So I think there are lots of things here that we can do that we just presume that we can't, or we never quite get round to. Andy.
I'm working on a project, it's a wind project near St Just, and the council's initial screening opinion is because it's an AONB, they would oppose any installation. But so I would like to sort of use opportunities to hopefully sort of engender some positive comments I can feed back to the council to say actually climate change and those issues kind of outweigh some visual impacts in some cases. Obviously there's always got to be a balance, but the particular side is very industrialised, it's very kind of, there's a lot of pylons and things in the area. So and there's going to be some community opportunity for investment in that. It's a particularly good site. So if people want to meet me perhaps at lunchtime, then I can give some more details and get anyone that wants to write a letter of support or give some input or wants to know if they can invest or whatever, then I'll be happy to talk through.
And that's Andy from Plugging to the Sun, and there's lots of discussions like this that we can have, and it's very important that we start tackling the tricky thing so we end up making the right decision. I'm going to come back to this shortly again, Paul, but I just want to thank you very much, Rob. Rob will be here over lunch if anybody has got more questions and queries. We'll be talking more about energy afterwards. Have we got Lindsay here? Has she made it yet? If not, we will go straight on to, I think, Charmian, actually.
And just to say, if anybody's interested in getting involved and actually helping us, on the legwork, just wants to keep informed, please sign up to our newsletter, which is either on our website or which is literally a page at the moment, but there's a sign up point now, or email me with your details.
Thank you very much, Rob. Thank you very much.